Hello and welcome to Sex in the News. We are the Siegel Brothers. Tonight we'll be looking at some legislature from Arkansas, some good news from the Biden administration undoing some Trump administration changes, and a questionable study about finding love through DNA matches.
All right, so our first story is kind of an oldie but a goodie.
Asa Hutchinson,
Shitbag.
Republican governor of Arkansas, has signed a bill allowing medical workers to refuse treatment to LGBTQ people. This is unconscionable,
Right.
of course.
Ironically, they refer to this as an act of conscience. Right? That's that old George W. Bush thing, right? About if providing health care to somebody, which is your job and your responsibility in that job, violates your conscience, your religious convictions.
Yes. As our friend Patty Britton once said, if it gives you that lump in the throat, right? Get the hell out of the field.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a pharmacist, you have no place making judgment or saying it's against your religious beliefs to dispense birth control pills.
Right.
Because you are countermandering a doctor's order and practicing medicine without a license and should lose your own.
That's absolutely.
Right? If you are an EMT, well, they try and qualify it and say that it's non-emergency treatment.
Yeah, you know, this was really sort of nice, sort of couching, little camouflage, right?
Yeah.
As a way to kind of slip their bigotry and hatred into this bill by because it was defeated earlier when these exceptions were written more broadly.
But I mean, this is a statement from the governor of a state in the United States of America in 2021. I support this right of conscience so long as emergency care is exempted and conscience objection cannot be used to deny general health services to any class of people. Most importantly, federal law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, sex, gender, and national origin continue to apply to the delivery of healthcare services. But if someone happens to have a lump in their throat about administering healthcare to someone they don't like, right?
Like a transgender child.
And why, again, as you said, age-old story. Why is there? Why do we tolerate the completely arbitrary application to sexual status and not racial status?
Right.
Because if someone in 2021 said, I didn't want to help this person because they're black, they would be run out on a rail. But they're perfectly allowed by legal authority of the governor to go, I have a problem with it, I refuse to treat.
And they're allowed to.
Right.
Right. So, again, I tell this to my nursing students, quite a bit actually, that if this is your responsibility, you're a healthcare professional. It's not your job to be forcing your opinions on other people. And religious beliefs are nothing but opinions. I don't care how strongly you hold them. They are arbitrary opinions. And I don't care what your opinion is. If you are forcing it on your patients, you are wrong. And I think any healthcare professional that does refuse to participate should not only be fired, but as you already indicated, lose your license.
Yeah.
That is unethical, that is unprofessional.
Anyone who holds a license is engaged. We've been teaching this in ethics classes for 30 years, right? If you hold a professional license, you're involved in a three-way contract between you and the public, right? You and your licensing board, and you're involved in the relationship between that licensing board and the public, right? So by holding a license, you agree that you will hold your profession's ethics above your own.
Right.
Right? And if you have a problem with that, you need to leave the field.
Yeah.
If you're a pharmacist and have a problem dispensing birth control scripts legally written from a physician to a patient, then maybe you should be in research in big pharma and get the hell out of retail pharmacy. But you cannot. Remember when I was still at Planned Parenthood, we did a secret shopper campaign when the Plan B first received FDA approval. The most horrendous things I'd ever, I couldn't imagine. Pharmacists tearing scripts up saying, I refuse to fill this. Pharmacists intentionally holding the script saying, it'll take me, I don't have it in stock, I'll call you when it comes in, and purposely waiting until after the 72 hours when it was no longer a viable option, right? Unbelievable things of breaking the law and violating their professional ethics and oath.
Right. And, if anybody was ever curious or ever wondered what evil really means, this is it.
Yeah, especially when it's couched under religious freedom.
Exactly.
That is the worst kind of evil.
Exactly.
To legalize discrimination and justify it by protecting your religious freedom.
Right. That's really, and that's all this is. This is a ruse. This is people hiding their bigotry and hatred behind this banner of religious freedom. And again, we've talked about this with other things that have come up, and the one thing that seems to remain the most consistent is that the term religious liberty is just a bullshit euphemism for bigotry and intolerance. That's it. Has nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with liberty or freedom. It's all about bigotry and intolerance. End of story.
Yeah. In some happier news, the Biden administration has worked to undo Trump changes to federal family planning programs, right? Title 10 and those kinds of federal laws, which were supposed to, through health departments nationwide, provide such services as sexual and reproductive health care, STD screenings, contraceptive services, even at one point before the, the Hyde Amendment, referrals for abortion. And previously, under the Trump administration, Title 10 providers were prohibited from providing or promoting abortion.
Right, and remember part of
to maintain their funding.
Exactly, and part of what the Rump's agenda was with a lot of that stuff was to defund Planned Parenthood.
Right.
That was their entire agenda. And when you look at other international agencies that were getting this very necessary federal assistance and government money, that stipulation that not only for providers of abortion services, but they use that term providing or promoting abortion. And in their eyes, if you just tell a woman, even say, there's not anything that we can do here. I'm sorry, our hands are tied. We can't do anything. But here's a list of people that you can talk to and see about getting it somewhere else. They will lose their funding. They'll lose their funding. That's promoting abortion. Right? So again, finally, Biden and this administration is finally kind of turning that stuff back and bringing us just one step closer to rational thinking.
Right. And just a little historical context, since probably most people younger than us have absolutely no idea about this. A lot of people our age probably neither. But in terms of Supreme Court decisions around sexual and reproductive health, it was not until 1972, right? 3 years after Woodstock, so-called in the height of our so-called sexual revolution in this country, right? It was not until 1972 that it was legal for a physician to discuss, we're talking about words, a conversation, birth control with a non-married woman.
Right.
right? 1972. I was already 9 years old.
And wasn't it, I don't remember the dates offhand, but wasn't it something like 1965 that doctors were
Griswold.
first allowed to even talk to married couples about preventing pregnancy?
If another pregnancy would represent a threat
Right.
to a woman's health.
Right.
That was Griswold. 1965, for sure.
Right. Now, again, to put that in perspective, the birth control pill came out in 1963.
In Europe. Right. Took us quite a while to catch on. Our summer of love was late, as usual. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it was in the winter.
And finally, what is this piece of absurdity you found?
It's a wonderful piece of absurdity. It's one of those sort of life imitating art, imitating life.
Yeah.
There's a show on Netflix, and I'm making a point of saying it's a television show, not a television program. I watch those insurance commercials with Dr. Rick. Right? So there's a show on Netflix called The One. I'm sure some of you are watching it out there. And apparently it centers around a geneticist who invents a new matchmaking service using DNA to help people find love. Right? So it's sort of like that 23 and me and you, and looking at putting our genetics and not just looking at our family history, but looking for romantic compatibility. Right? Now, the reason why we're talking about this, right? And they're kind of, with the doctor in this show, making statements like a single strand of hair is all it takes to be matched with one person you are genetically guaranteed to fall in love with.
Your one true love.
Okay. Now, the fact that this is on Netflix, that this is a TV show, right? That really wouldn't get our attention. It wouldn't really get noticed. But we are living in this just incredible, and I was very surprised to hear that the sort of at-home genetic testing kit industry is like a $10 million a year industry.
Oh, yeah. I'm
right?
not surprised.
I mean, it's unbelievable how much that is. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's a $10 billion
That
a year
sounds more like
industry.
it, yeah.
So the
People
reason,
are getting their dogs DNA tested.
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Hopefully to see if they're not related to them. Right? But again, what makes this newsworthy is the fact that it's not fiction. I mean, it's fiction, yes, but it is a parallel to what's already out there. Apparently, there are a number of companies. There's two companies in Canada, DNA Romance and Instant Chemistry, are already selling people these kinds of DNA testing kits, claiming that they will find love and sexual compatibility through DNA tests. So this goes kind of right up there with that sort of plethora of boner pills that are advertised for guys and all this kind of stuff. Here's just something else that you're being duped with. Right? This is all a scam. Right?
It is good marketing. It's another one of these where I think, damn, why didn't we think of this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm sure they're pulling up the Brinks trucks.
That's right. You cannot find a compatible lover through your genotype.
Histocompatibility complex.
Yeah, that's that kind of new buzz term.
What a load of crap.
It really is, and that's the takeaway. It's just a big steaming load of crap. So if you enjoy the show on Netflix, please continue to do so, but keep that line firmly placed between fantasy and reality.
Right, and don't send somebody money to spit in a tube and find your one true love based on some DNA marker.
Right, because it doesn't exist.
No.
Right. All right, and as we kind of like to do to sort of bring this new show to a close, we do like to end with a piece that we call Poetic Justice. Right?
Our little opportunity to call out hypocrisy, one of our favorite hobbies.
Indeed, right? Hypocrisy and just bad behavior, right? Especially when it's so stunningly hypocritical. This one comes to us from Clarkston, Oakland County. Let's see, where is this?
Michigan.
Michigan, yes, one of those wonderful places. And I'll start just with the title, because it kind of is what got me. Right? Home inspector accused of sex act with client's Elmo doll. Right? And whatever you're thinking right now is probably correct. Right? A Michigan home inspector has been charged with criminal charges after he allegedly masturbated with an Elmo doll while on the job in a child's bedroom. Right?
Allegedly. There was a video camera.
Yeah, it's all on tape.
Who are you going to believe, him or your lying eyes?
Right. So again, our shout out to Kevin Wayne Van Leuven of Clarkston, Michigan, who was arraigned, and I love these charges, misdemeanor charges of aggravated indecent exposure, and I didn't even know there was such a thing, malicious destruction of property under $200. Right.
And did you point out this part? A home inspector had been touched with criminal charges.
Yes.
This is journalistic.
A Huffington Post article here. Apparently, while this family was out, she had hired this home inspector. She was selling her home, and like it's common practice, you allow some of these inspectors to come in when you're not there. You got to give them access. While she was out, one of the owners received a webcam alert on her phone that movement had been detected in the nursery.
Movement.
That's when she saw Kevin Wayne Van Leuven masturbating.
With a Tickle Me Elmo.
Right, but that's not all. As the camera recorded, he picked up the Elmo from the floor and, quote, appeared to pleasure himself with the doll. Right? The homeowners called 911. Officers showed up, and he sort of kind of copped to it.
Well, was busted on camera.
Yeah, he busted on camera.
There's even a visual. Should we have our producer include that in the...
Sure, I think we should. I mean, something like that, this should be recorded for posterity.
But perhaps what's even more disgusting, after abusing the doll, Van Leuven put it back.
Put the doll back, which Mom would have never known had she not captured it. That's one of those ew kind of thought processes.
Had they had the foresight to put a nanny cam in the Elmo doll,
that would have been a visual.
Could have made some money on some POV porn sites, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But perhaps that's a story for another evening.
Rightly so. All right. So again, our shout out to Kevin Wayne Van Leuven, Clarkston, Michigan. You are this week's Poetic Justice, and we give you our traditional salute.
That'll do it for this week's Sex in the News. We are the Siegel Brothers.
Thanks for watching.